Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Peace Lutheran. Thank you so much for coming this evening. My name is Dwayne Coos. I'm a member of Peace, and it's been my pleasure to be a part of the whole process of bringing Michael Dowd here tonight to present to each and every one of us. Just a quick little story. I am an avid internet follower, and I honestly can't tell you which of the lists or where it was that I got this inkling of a book that the title obviously caught my attention, Thank God for Evolution. And so in a matter of minutes, I went to the website and I had a chance to see some of Michael's videos that he has on his website, and knew immediately that it was something that would be of interest to me. So I continued going through his website and I downloaded his book, and even to the point of eventually getting a copy of his book. And I got involved with it and just immediately became totally engrossed. Read it again and started reading it again. And it was then I started planting seeds with people in the congregation. And one of those persons is Brad Matuska, who in fact has been my partner in terms of brainstorming and bringing Michael with us. And the commonality we share together, we both have biology backgrounds, and through that training that we received collegiately, there's always been this contrast between the Christianity that we both grew up in, and again, this supposedly 14 billion years of science. And how do you take 6,000 years and lump it together with 14 billion? The numbers are a little off there. So anyways, having the chance to digest what Michael has put together was just an epiphany. It was magic. It was a way to connect bridges to things that had been so frustrating in the past. And any of you that know me, that if I see a bridge, I cross it. And so I saw an opportunity that said, if you'd like me to come out and speak, send me an email. And that's what I did. And of course, Brad helped me out in terms of bringing all of you here together tonight. So I'm elated. I'm an angel shining tonight in the sense of the opportunity to have Michael here to share with us tonight. And I mean that sincerely. I guarantee you, he will connect with you. It will be very different than he connects with me, but he will connect. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Dowd.
Thank you, Dwayne, and it's just such a treat to be here in this part of the world at this time of year. There's nothing I love more than the baby leaves, the little leaves coming out. I grew up Roman Catholic and didn't feel called to celibacy and ended up having a born-again experience in my teenage years. I was struggling a lot with drugs and alcohol and sexual issues, and it was in an Assemblies of God context. And so the people I read, the books, the people I hung out with, the books I read, the movies I watched, basically all the things that fed me intellectually were all coming from a very anti-evolution perspective. The earth was created 6,000, 8,000 years ago. I believe that Jesus was coming back at the end of the world. We'd never see the year 2000. I was quite sure we would never see the year 2000. And I was completely threatened by the evolutionary perspective. In fact, I believe that Darwinism was the root of most of the evil in the world. And what happened was I went to Evangel College. It's affiliated with the Assemblies of God in Springfield, Missouri. I went to Evangel College. It's affiliated with the Assemblies of God in Springfield. And I was unprepared for the fact that they would be teaching evolution at an evangelical college. In fact, the first day I walked into biology class, the teacher held up the textbook that we were going to use, and I recognized that textbook taught evolution. And I literally freaked. I couldn't believe it. I picked up my books, walked out of class, slammed the door, and went to the registrar's office and withdrew from the course. In fact, I told my roommate, Satan obviously has a foothold in the school. It's the only way I could make sense of how they could be teaching evolution at an evangelical college. Well, I went on to discover that at most evangelical colleges and seminaries, they teach evolution. They just teach it in a God-glorifying way. And I ended up embracing evolution there, and over the course of the next 6 or 7 years, I kind of tolerated evolution, but it didn't inspire me religiously. It wasn't until 1988 that I was introduced to the work of Thomas Berry and Brian Swim and others who were teaching the whole history of the universe in a sacred, God-glorifying, Christ-edifying, Scripture-honoring way, in a way that enriched and strengthened my faith. And the first night that I was exposed to this perspective, I knew I would spend the rest of my life popularizing this perspective. It was like my calling. I knew it. I ended up pastoring 3 churches over the course of a decade, 3 United Church of Christ congregations. And then I did environmental sustainability work. I basically headed up the first, I was the religious organizer for the National Environmental Trust. So my job was to work with Jewish rabbis, Catholic priests, Protestant clergy, and evangelical clergy on key environmental issues that were coming up for a vote in Congress. So I did that for a year, and then for 5 years I headed up the first government-funded sustainable lifestyle campaign in the United States, the Portland Sustainable Lifestyle Campaign in Portland, Oregon. And my job, talk about a dream job, my job was to help neighbors come together and support each other in using less water, driving less, composting, recycling, all the different aspects of living a more creation care, stewardship lifestyle, and building trust and a greater sense of community with their neighbors in the process. Most of these neighbors had never even met each other. And this was in the mid-90s to 2000. So I did that for 5 years, both 3 years in Portland, Oregon, and then 2 years in New York, for the state of New York. And then I met my wife, Connie Barlow. And within hours of meeting her, I knew I had met my mission partner. And we fell in love as mission partners. Both of us had been for more than a decade, in fact almost 2 decades, sharing the evolutionary story of the universe in religiously nourishing ways. And 4 months after meeting her, I asked her to marry me, and 3 weeks after that we got married, and for 95% or 98% of our married life, we've been living on the road. For the last 6 years, we have not had a home. We don't even have a storage bin. We live permanently out of the generosity of people who open up their homes to us. I mean, that van out there is our bedroom on wheels, but it doesn't have a kitchen or a bathroom. It forces us to live with people, which is really what we want to do. So and my wife is a science writer. She's written 5 science books. Her books are published by MIT Press, Copernicus Books, Basic Books. So she's internationally known as a science writer. And we came together as the marriage of science and religion to preach and teach the marriage of science and religion for personal and planetary well-being. That is, we believe that evolution, understood in a sacred, meaningful way, which is not the way most people have been exposed to it. In fact, when I speak to conservative audiences, I genuinely believe that until those of us who do embrace evolution can communicate it in ways that conservative religious believers and liberal religious believers can feel in their guts as holy or sacred or meaningful, then they should continue to reject evolution. The onus of responsibility is on those of us who do accept evolution or do embrace the evidence of evolution to find ever more holy or inspiring or meaningful ways to communicate it. And I'm going to do the best that I can tonight to share with you why I am passionately excited about a God-glorifying, Christ-edifying, Scripture-honoring way of thinking about evolution. But I'm not going to try to convince you. If you hold to a young earth creationist perspective, or you don't accept the evidence of evolution or whatever, I'm not going to try to persuade you. Because, frankly, I'm not interested in converting you to my perspective. But what I will do is share as passionately and as excitedly as I can why I'm inspired and why a growing number of people around the world are inspired from this perspective.